How's it going, friends? Welcome back to Gamer SPR. Multi-year development cycles are pretty common in the video game industry. Games are hard to make after all, and creating a truly great game takes a lot of time, but fans have been looking forward for the following titles for quite a while. Today's list contains the top 20 video games of 2020 and beyond. We work hard to make sure you keep coming back for the content we produce, so if you're not a subscriber yet, please subscribe and you'll be notified whenever a video goes public. Crossfire X is an adaptation of Age's enormously popular first-person shooter Crossfire. It's coming west and will hit consoles first on Xbox One in 2020. Crossfire X is being developed by its owner, the South Korea-based Smilegate Entertainment. Overseas, the game is a free-to-play shooter in which players fight for one or two mercenary factions. The trailer announcing the game at Microsoft E3 2019 keynote showed off many of the same themes and motifs, including vehicular combat, underwater action, and modern weapon and tactic galore. In Crossfire's canon, the two factions are Global Risk, a private military corporation that functions as the game's good guys, and Blacklist, a terrorist organization that's willing to terrorize anything in sight. They're in it for the money. Top 19. Minecraft Dungeons. Minecraft Dungeons, which will be a dungeon crawling game where players will be able to team up with friends to take on new challenges. The trailer of the game showcased a variety of locals, from forests to lava-filled castles. We also saw a bunch of enemy hoarders that players will take down in the search for loot. Players will be accordingly able to equip all sorts of weapons and armors, and will have levels, enchantments, and various states to boot, in addition to standard weapons like hammers. Fans will also be able to use magic. There will also be a wide variety of customization options to help players personalize their characters. Overall, the game seems to be way more action-oriented than base Minecraft experience. But unlike Diablo, it will have more of a family-friendly appeal. Minecraft Dungeons will be out in spring 2020 for PC, consoles, and Xbox Game Pass. In the top 18. Psychonauts 2. Microsoft announced its acquisition for Double Fine Productions, along with the trail of Psychonauts 2, at its 2019 E3 press conference. Raz is taking on a new job and facing off against new bad guys. This time he's wearing a snazzy up suit, appropriate for a first day at work. However, it looks like his job takes a turn for the weirder, as expected for a Psychonauts game, and become filled with wonky looking landscapes and teeth. The sequel was initially announced at the 2015 Game Awards as a crowdfunding campaign. It later reached its 3 million goal through Fig.co. People are still able to pre-order and back the game through the crowdfunding campaign. Psychonauts 2 is part of Xbox Game Pass, but will also be available for a plethora of platforms, including Windows PC, Mac, Linux, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. It's slated to be released sometime in 2020. Number 17. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Dragon Ball Z fans have long been waiting for an action RPG that follows some of the most iconic moments of the anime, and it appears they're finally going to get it with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. The first full trailer for this new action game debuted at Microsoft E3 press conference. The trailer was focused on the events of the first couple of seasons of the anime. It starts out with Vegeta and Nappa's arrival to Earth, gives us a short glimpse of Vegeta and Goku fighting, including in his giant ape form, and continues all the way up to Frieza and Goku's climatic battle. Unlike most of the previous Dragon Ball Z games, which have been fighting games, this Kakarot will be an action RPG rather than being focused on solo combat. Based on the trailer we see and the name, it seems likely that the game will only include some of the earliest stories of the anime. Top 16. Little Nightmares 2. It's getting a sequel, and it looks just as creepy as the first game. While the first Little Nightmare was entirely focused on Six as she attempted to make her way out of the mood, the sequel will give her a little companionship with a new character called Mono. According to Mervik, Mono and Six will journey to a place called Signal Tower, which will play a central role in the story. The trailer doesn't give many details away about the game, but we do see a few outdoor environments, something that wasn't really in the first game. Mervik mentions that the sequel will take Mono and Six through areas like the woods and abandoned shacks. So it seems that this game could be significantly bigger than just the mall that Six explored in the first game. Top 15. Outriders. Outriders, a shooter set in dark and desperate sci-fi universe, is the next game from People Can Fly. Publisher Square Enix announced on E3 press briefing, People Can Fly is the polished studio behind the Bulletstorm and Gears of War Judgment, and Outriders will be the company's first new project since separating from Epic Games in 2015. It's a game we've had in our head ever since People Can Fly left Epic Games. More than 200 employees are working on the game at People Can Fly's office in Poland, the UK and the US. Outriders supports solo play as well as co-op for up to 3 people. The trailer showed off weaponry and critters with an alien look to them. Outriders is in development on PlayStation 4, Windows PC, Xbox One, and is scheduled to be released in summer 2020. Top 14. Dying Light 2. Techland has been somewhat mum about their parkour meets zombies franchise for a while, but Microsoft E3 press conference broke the silence. The big reveal focused on Dying Light 2 story, which follows the protagonist Aiden Caldwell and the various factions he's likely to encounter during the events of the game. Dying Light 2 is a choice-driven game where your actions have consequences that ripple throughout the city. Missions will have multiple ways to complete the objective, and these decisions affect the way that the city and the game develops. Every faction has a benefit, but also drawbacks that you'll have to carefully consider. And as the name implies, there's a big emphasis on the time. During the daytime, you'll be juggling the needs and wants of humans, but during the nighttime, you'll have to worry more about those rescue zombies. Dying Light 2 comes out in spring 2020 for Xbox One, PS4, and Windows. Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is a Ubisoft response to their previous venture Unto the Seven Seas, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, one of the most well-received entries in the Stabby series of Ezio and Seal that has promoted Ubi to drop anchor and stay floating atop the waves with skulls and bones. In some ways, Skull and Bones gameplay looks very similar to Black Flag's naval battles, albeit with some new bells and whistles. Taking us back to 2013, Assassin's Creed outing is bracing. As an enemy ship is ready to fire, you can ready your crew for impact to reduce the damage taken. Bounty hunting ship called Pirates Hunters also try to take you down if you're making waves too much. So to speak, Skull and Bones is a shared war pirate game that you can play in solo if you want. That means Skull and Bones multiplayer and single player are weaved together. But the Ubisoft devs hope you will team up with friends to maximize your treasure. And for what we know, the game will be released on March 2020. Rainbow Six Quarantine. Ubisoft announced Rainbow Six Quarantine, a new spin-off for the Tom Clancy series that appears to be inspired by the popular Outbreak event from Rainbow Six Siege. The game will be released as a standalone title. Outbreak was a limited-time event that came to Rainbow Six Siege as part of the Operation Chimera in 2018, set in Town of Truth and Consequences, New Mexico. Quarantine will be a 3-player tactical co-op FPS that tasks teams of operators to work and fight together against the intensifying threats of technological parasites. The brief trailer did not give any details like the location of the story or any possible new operators. It will be released in 2020 on Xbox One, PS4, and Windows PC. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2. Bloodlines 2 will begin with a messy mass embrace where many vampires are created all at once. Players will take on the role of one of those characters and be welcomed into the world of the Masquerade by another vampire. The other newly created undead won't be so lucky. When you are made as a very young vampire, a lot of other vampires were made at the same time. They're having a less lucky time in the world, going through vampire puberty on their own. They might have a family and wife and children who morally object to drinking blood and can find them throughout the world. Vampire: The Masquerade Bloodlines 2 will arrive in the first quarter of 2020. Top 10. Gods and Monsters. Gods and Monsters is an open-world storybook adventure set in a vibrant, colorful land, the Isle of the Blessed. The game's combat sounds fast-paced and varied, as players will be facing Cyclops, Harpies, and game's antagonist Typhon. In addition, Phoenix will have great powers at his fingers, with one example of his huge power being the Boots of Hermes, which allow you to double jump and get to places you wouldn't be able to access before. The gear Phoenix wears will be customizable, but more details on that are being held for the future. Gods and Monsters launches for Nintendo Switch, PC, PS4, Stadia, and Xbox One on 2020. Top 9. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Last year, Ori and the Will of the Wisps got some time on the E3 stage with a gameplay trailer. A year later, we've gotten another look at the game showing off some of the finer details of the sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest. The Ori games are stylish, slightly spooky, Metroidvania-style adventures that stand out thanks to their distinct visuals and smooth animation. Developer Moon Studios is looking to improve on the best aspects of the first Ori title. Will of the Wisps brings some quality of life updates and refreshes the advancement system of the first game with a new save system and an upgrade tree that's less linear. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is set to be released on February 11th, 2020 on Windows PC and Xbox One. Number 8. Watch Dogs Legion. The third installment in Ubisoft's open-world hacking game was officially announced at E3 2019. Watch Dogs Legion will let players explore London in futuristic post-Brexit world in which society, politics and technology have changed and altered London's fortunes. You'll be able to recruit and play as any NPC in the game world, all in the name of building up a resistance force and freeing London from the grip of tyranny. Each character will have its own animation, voiceover and general traits, all of which will affect how you experience the game. The game is coming to PlayStation 4, Windows PC, Xbox One and Google Stadia on March 6, 2020. Number 7. Final Fantasy VII Remake. The long-awaited remake of Final Fantasy VII will be released on PlayStation 4 on March 2020. The game's producer, Yoshinori Kitase, offered new insights into how the role-playing game remake will play at Square Enix E3 2019, showing real-time battles that blend with strategic, tactical mode gameplay. Final Fantasy VII Remake will be episodic in nature, but that doesn't mean that it will be a small game. The first part of the remake will focus and expand the story of Midgard and take place across the Blu-ray discs. Top 6. Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is the next chapter of the Halo series, Microsoft says, and will lead the franchise into a new and unexpected directions. Microsoft and 343 promise an increased focus on the Master Chief, the series' main playable protagonist. So while Halo Infinite is neither a reboot or a spin-off, it sounds like a new starting point of the franchise, which was previously designed with the trilogies and multi-game sagas in mind. The Infinite in the game title may also refer to a game that players will spend time with for a long time to come. Top 5. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Ubisoft has elaborated on its plans for Beyond Good and Evil 2, and they sound ambitious. Basically, the developers are imagining a large-scale adventure that will allow players to create their own character and explore the games. There is simulation in the universe where everything is rotating in the classical way, so if you change the time, you see the rotation universe. As for the story itself, it seems that Beyond Good and Evil 2 will expand on the universe of the original title by exploring a future where human-animal hybrids were created as a form of slave labor. These hybrids later explored space and established their own colonies. Top 4. Marvel's Avengers. If you're worried that Marvel's Avengers by Square Enix was going to be a purely multiplayer experience, here's some good news for you. We have learned that the main campaign of Marvel's Avengers is going to be a single player, with the co-op multiplayer fare only serving as side missions. For gamers that do like playing online with strangers, Marvel's Avengers will have side missions that can be tackled through optional online co-op between 2 to 4 players. It's worth noting that local multiplayer will not be supported, so don't expect to be able to tackle these side missions using a split screen. Marvel's Avengers will launch on May 2020 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Google Stadia and PC. Top 3. Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is something of an alternate history take on the era of the Mongolian Empire. The Mongol army has invaded the island of Tsushima and you as the player must control one of the last samurais as he attempts to fight off the invading horde. Along the way, players will be forced to abandon their traditional ways and embrace style of fighting referred to as the Way of the Ghosts. This stunning game from Sucker Punch, the makers of Sly Cooper and Infamous, features incredible visuals, a sweeping soundtrack, a methodical combat system reminiscent of what we've seen in God of War, and a lot of promising design choices. Top 2. Cyberpunk 2077. It will be CD Projekt Red's first game outside the Witcher universe, and its first foray into science fiction, based on a cyberpunk series of tabletop games. Inspired by the pioneers of the cyberpunk subgenre, namely William Gibson and Bruce Sterling. We can therefore expect plenty of cyborgs, AI, united cities, and scary corporations. While Cyberpunk 2077 is very different in settings from The Witcher, we'll see the same major themes and unforgiving difficulty level in this new outing. Cyberpunk 2077 arrives on April 16, 2020. The game is coming to Xbox, PS4, PC and Google Stadia. And for the top 1, we have The Last of Us Part 2. Yes, one of the greatest games of previous console generation is getting a sequel. Fans hope that Naughty Dog might find a way to return to the world of The Last of Us, but the nature of the original game's ending left some to speculate that developers had said all there was to say about the adventure of Ellie and Joel. It's not entirely clear exactly what the story will be this time around, but the ominous and fearful tone of Ellie's looming threats suggests that this will be a story of revenge. The recipient of said revenge seems to be fairly obvious based on the context clues in the trailer, but in the interest of not completely outlining the ending of the original game, we will not speculate on their identity here. Thank you for watching the video. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to this channel to not miss any of our new videos.